Hey, you've tuned into You're Entitled to My Opinion. Insurance is like an asshole. Everyone has one and they all stink. I'm Lady Justice. Welcome to the one-stop shop where no one's going to be safe. I'm a trial paralegal, an insurance adjuster, and a senior claim law associate. A lot of lawsuits involve insurance. In insurance adjusting, we always say, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. Believe me when I say, that's not you, the little guy. I intend to pull back the proverbial curtain on law firms and insurance, which I know will stir up the ant bed. Through this podcast, I will educate you by storytelling and being brutally honest about the actors who I think help hurt, lie, cheat, and steal in the industry. And there are many, and they're on both sides. Tune in to hear my stories. If you think law and insurance adjusting is all rainbows and butterflies, buckle up. You're entitled to my opinion.
Shout till your head blows off. If they don't listen, then you make them sing. You keep repeating till they believe. Now you gotta tell me now.
Hey, James.
Hello.
Hey, listeners. I want to talk about a story that's called Baby It's Cold Outside. This was for the February 2021 freeze in Texas, because it was throughout the whole state. James is my estimator. He would come out after I was hired and he would write everything up. In Texas, public adjusters have to at least provide an estimate. And then we can't negotiate without it. James, you want to say hey?
Yeah, I was probably estimating for about 4 months straight during this freeze. It was a big event in the state of Texas, and I came in mostly after water mitigation companies and plumbers that had already done repairs and patch jobs on mostly copper pipes. If we see a lot of houses that we went to were very old houses, so it was all copper pipe. Nowadays it's PEX pipe, and it has a little bit more flexibility when it comes to a freeze. Copper doesn't, so we would find houses that would have like 20 different leak spots, and they had to repair a spot, turn the water on, cause another leak, repair that spot, turn the water on, cause another leak. And this was like a trial and error, and sometimes it was an unnecessary more damage found than you would think from one pipe freeze or one pipe busting. It would be all over the house. So most houses were getting pretty torn up from just water damage.
Okay. What a lot of people don't know is the policies, the regular policies or the majority of the policies that are sold, freeze isn't covered. So people are listening to this and they're saying, well, how come mine wasn't paid for? In the uh, insurance policy, and James, you probably want to pull it up.
Yep.
So how an insurance policy works. Let's see, where's it? Okay. So how an insurance policy works is they give you everything, then they take it away. So in the section 1 losses not insured, they have number 1 where it says we will not pay for. And then when you go down to A is collapse, but B, where the arrow is, it says freezing of a plumbing, heating, air conditioning, or automatic fire protective sprinkler, or of a household appliance or discharge leakage or overflow from within the system or appliance caused by freezing. This does not apply if you have used reasonable care too. This is why they were covered, because we had ERCOT shut everybody down. And so if say you left your house because you lost electricity, and you weren't there, then you couldn't reasonably heat it. So number 1 is maintain the heat in the building structure. That would be your house at 55 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, or shut off the water supply and drain the system and appliances of water. So if you left because you're freezing, your kids are freezing, you can't heat the house up because ERCOT, we lost our power, everybody lost their power. Then you would have been covered even if the electricity had come on after you left because you didn't know. For the most part, people stayed in their homes and they just froze. I mean, honestly. So when the water froze in the pipes, when it started defrosting as the weather got warmer outside, or maybe the electricity came on and you turned it on. That's what happened. It started leaking. Plumbers are called out and they get to pay for emergency. But like we said, these might be older cast iron pipes or copper pipes. And every time you would repair a leak where the plumber thought the leak was, it would cause pressure in the system and then something else, something else, something else. Also, insurance companies were coming out and seeing that some of the houses, they were never like glued. Like nobody knew this because it's behind the walls, right, or in the attic. They weren't glued properly, so when the pressure was turned back on, it blew it apart. They tried to use that as insurance companies try to deny those as
The
improper
joints,
installation.
the
Yeah, the
joints weren't
joints.
set properly. Yeah.
Right. And you wouldn't have ever known that. I mean, because
Yeah.
people lived in these houses for 50 years and they didn't know.
In a way, you can call that a faulty installation too. So it's like another argument for
All right.
insurance.
Okay.
Well,
So,
it's another side for insurance to negotiate.
so we're going to get back to my client, right? So originally, a water mitigation company was hired by her. And when they came out there, they're not a preferred provider, but they wanted money. Like, that's what they do for a living. They want money. So they called in the claim, or they helped her call in the claim, and they started the water mitigation process. When the adjuster came out there, and I'm not sure he actually came out there or they just spoke on the phone, um, there was a negotiation. For instance, though this is all before me, water mitigator's original water mitigation bill was 45,000, and I really think it was 45. He starts talking to the adjuster, and the adjuster's like, nope, 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 not paying for it, not paying for it, not paying for it. So the water mitigation company started coming down on their price. What you have to be careful about on coming down on your price, you're also potentially coming down on your scope. And so now, if you don't properly remediate your house, it's going to have water, mold. You go to sell it, that's going to be an issue. Okay. So when I was hired 10 months later in December, the poor lady, she was a widow. She didn't know what was going on. She thought the water mitigation company was taking care of it. The adjuster was very accommodating to her, moving her out. She's actually a NASA engineer. So she chose, instead of being in Conroe, she chose to move closer to NASA, which, she gets an apartment, she can get it wherever she wants. They put her stuff in storage. She moved into an apartment and her house just sat there for 10 months until I came along. Originally, what insurance told her, so of course I put all this in a letter, so I have a letter. And James, you can pull up this letter if you want the letter. They originally told her, now they paid her plumbing invoice, okay, to repair the plumbing. They paid the mitigator. So the water remediation company, they paid them their bill, not the 45 that they wanted, but the 32, 34, or whatever they agreed on. Okay. When I went in there, it was still wet. Kitchen cabinets were still wet. I mean, water busted, or the pipes busted all in the attic. It's an older home, one story. So I have James come out, but this is how it went in the beginning before I turn it over to James. Did you pull that letter up, James?
I don't have the letter.
Yeah, it's right there. I think it says letter. Oh, I thought I pulled it up. It's over in the other part.
You can probably put it up yourself.
I think it's this one. Okay, how do I pull it up?
Send it to the chat and I will pull it up.
I don't know how to do that. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Well, okay. So anyway, let me go back. Okay. So anyway, the original letter that came out, it stated March 9th, 2021. This was the February 19th, 2021 storm. It was called Winter Storm Uri, URI. They originally told her that her replacement cost Now this is everything that's torn out, $45,000 worth of stuff was $5,169.58. And she had a deductible of $3,050. So they were going to send her an actual cash value check for $2,119.58. Now, James, we can talk about the depreciation on the interior of the house. It's not a lot because sheetrock will last 50 years. So
No, okay. So they said the total claim was what? How much was insurance
I
going to pay?
said, okay, this is outside of the emergency, which was the plumbing invoice to
Let's
repair
do it total.
and the
Give
water
me a total
mitigation. This
number.
is just billed back. $5,169.58. They took out her deductible and they were going to send her a check for $2,119.58, which they never sent her. 10 months later, I'm hired and I put it in there. She hasn't gotten anything, outside of those were paid directly, the two invoices, and she was getting reimbursement for food, her apartment, and storage, but nothing on the build back, even though she was supposed to get a $2,000 check. So James goes in there
Yeah, so
and
when I went in there, I come in there and it's a little hard for me, especially if I'm coming in a couple weeks later, and especially after a water mitigation company has already touched it. I shouldn't be seeing any water damage at all because the water mitigation company's job is to take it all out. A demo, right? So I come into a kitchen area, I shouldn't see cabinets. If there's a pipe that busted above a cabinet, I shouldn't see a cabinet. It should be missing. And I should be asking, hey, do you have photos of what this looked like beforehand? That way I can match quality and likeness of that cabinet. I don't want a homeowner having custom cabinetry and they're getting paid for standard cabinetry. That's not, everyone knows that that does not match up. That price will be crazy out of the roof once it comes to custom. And at this point, there's so much work over the state of Texas that a contractor can pretty much name his own price. So we use the software Xactimate to get a market value of what a general cost of your jurisdiction, your tax jurisdiction, all that. So I come in and I see in the ceiling where they've cut holes and I can see where the pipe's been patched. And I ask my homeowner, hey, is that where the pipe busted? And she said, yeah. And I can clearly see there's about a 6-inch patch on copper piping. So I know that's a location. It's not that hard to be a forensic engineer when it comes to something like that. So if that's where the pipe busted directly above cabinetry, and I see water stains all over the cabinetry, this was improperly mitigated because
paint peeling.
you have paint peeling and you have water stains. And I sincerely doubt that this homeowner had that before this pipe busted. And then point of insurance is to put you back the way you were before this happened. So I don't see mold. I don't see anything growing. I don't see rot. I don't see any of that. So that tells me that I have it pretty nailed down to the past week, couple weeks or month. Depending on, I'm not sure how long it was after the event when I came through. So everyone knows that kitchens and master bathrooms or primary bathrooms, however you want to call it, all those are big ticket areas, right? Those are where selling points in houses. Kitchens often cost $15,000 to $30,000 depending on whose you're in. I
This
came
house
in
also had,
and there was
wait,
a
this,
lot of
this,
cabinetry.
this house also had, like the old
Yeah, I'll
tweed,
get to it. Yeah,
wallpaper.
they had paneling, shiplap not shiplap, but it's more paneling, but it had groove in it. It was a little bit more higher end shiplap. I wouldn't or paneling. I wouldn't say it's like the particle cardboard that you would see in really, really cheap like mobile homes, stuff like that. It wasn't like that. It was almost like a judge paneling in a way, but needless to say,
There.
that wasn't addressed and it was painted. So when I go through, I like to look at what did insurance pay and what are they calling it? Because honestly, you shouldn't be able to retract what you've already agreed to in writing on your estimate. So I'll make sure that I put in the same line items that insurance puts in so that I'm not at least missing something. Now I'm not going to go put duplicates, like say they paid for 2 2 3/4 inch baseboard. It's really 3.5. I'm gonna take that one away and put in my natural one, the one that's supposed to be there. That's one that's existing. Long story short, they completely missed
Well,
the
they,
entire kitchen. The entire
well, they
kitchen.
didn't, wait, hold on. They didn't even give an estimate at all.
Oh, well,
They
yeah,
never gave an
yeah.
estimate the whole time.
And I don't really care to look at a $5,000 estimate anyway or build back
Right.
whenever I see more than the kitchen being damaged. So I'm like, okay, well, $5,000 line items isn't even gonna touch this. I'm rewriting it anyway. So yeah, I probably didn't even look at this estimate. I just went straight off of eyesight and visual
Out of
inspection.
out of this whole entire house, I think there was one bathroom, a hall bath, that was not affected. Every
Yeah,
single room, and this is an older one story, so the rooms were very large.
yeah,
Um, and it got every room except one small hallway bath.
yeah.
It was like
I
a Jack
I
and
want to
Jill.
say there was what was it, wood flooring or carpet?
She had
She had
carpet
tile in the kitchen. I know that.
and carpet.
And carpet in her living room, which was
Yes.
literally right attached to the kitchen. So whatever damage you had in the kitchen walls affected the living room walls as well, which is where the paneling was. And
In the
obviously, if
dining room.
yeah, and the dining room's connected to that part. Um, the big dude, I
So
mean,
I don't, I mean, I can't pull it up, but I have it printed out. So the first check after James does his estimating, I get another adjuster. We talk on the phone. It takes him a minute to get, because he's an independent, to get the insurance company to pay it, approve it. So what he ended up doing was reduplicating James's estimate, and he couldn't get it exactly. So he was putting in lump sums like bid items to get it. So the very first check that she got was in February 11th, 2022. I was hired December 6th. They sent a check for $122,132.50. So originally they were supposed to have sent her a $2,100 check. Well, I never found out what happened to that, but they went ahead and sent her a $122,000 check. But it was almost 1 year later.
they underpaid
Now
it
keep in mind,
$120,000.
yep. So keep in mind, while she's out, she has policy limits on her personal property. She has policy limits on ALE, or additional living expenses. And 1 year in, it's being eaten up. And she hasn't even gotten any money to start the build back. But before she starts the build back, she has to have some more tear out. So the kitchen's had to be torn out. Then you have to put it back.
Yeah, and
So
in the state of
that's
Texas, our winters are very short, so no telling that how much water was trapped behind anything, and mold growth immediately could happen
right.
the next day.
Right. And she still didn't have her electricity. Um,
Oh wow, I didn't know
I
that.
want to say she still didn't have her electricity when I was hired because
Oh,
we
and this,
couldn't turn anything on.
I think this is important to say. This was not settled by an attorney. This was settled by a
No,
public adjuster. So
yes.
this was agreed to, and there wasn't any legal ramifications holding over their heads. They literally missed $120,000.
Well, that wasn't all of it. Remember, that's the ACV. There was still another 30,000 on the back end that they withheld. So
Yeah, it's pretty
okay, so
sick.
here it
It's
is
pretty
February.
disgusting.
Well, here it is February, and she can't find a contractor at all.
Yeah.
So she finally gets a contractor in April, May, gets a contract signed, and still by July of this year, she still was not back in her house because her house was like a 3,500 square foot, 1 story house, and it pretty much needed to be gutted and built back. And remember, because everybody had damage, You couldn't get cabinets, you couldn't get
Yeah.
appliances. We were on backlog, the whole state was affected. So, even if she had been able to get everything built back, she wasn't going to be able to get her
And
appliances.
COVID at this time.
Yes, 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 exactly. Now she was a widow, so they ended up writing the check. And James, I wish we could get that up. Um,
The letter?
they ended up writing a check to me, her, and the estate of her husband. Luckily, she still had her letters testamentary and a bank account with his name on it. So we can go into what would have happened if she had to gone to a lawyer. Okay. She would have had to hire an attorney. She would not have had any money to build her house back. The attorney would have sent someone out, probably would not have been as conservative as James's estimate. So I think our estimate was around 150, and they would have been more probably. And then it would have sat around for probably at least 6 months, maybe
Yeah,
longer.
yeah, I mean,
And she would have been on her own because remember, additional living expenses, you're still paying for your house note if you have one. You're still paying taxes. You're still paying for your water, your electricity, your cable, all of that is still being paid at your house, your taxes, and you're living somewhere else with these other things. Um, the Let me see.
go
So
ahead.
okay, so the lawyer, huh?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the lawyer would have settled this probably for 250,000 to be able to get her that 150. Um, I'm just putting that out there that it would have cost, plus it would have cost the insurance company money for their defense. Okay. And all the expenses that would have gone with their attorney, their hourly rate, and their expenses, and also reimbursement. They would have gone to mediation, potentially, a lawsuit, removing it, getting experts.
Yeah.
But luckily, they did the right thing. They saw the light.
Yeah, luckily. And I mean, we're working one case at a time. I can only imagine this affected the entire state.
Yeah. All of the ones that we were hired on were underpaid. Some of it, I mean, I just got to tell you, some of it was preferred provider, preferred vendor for the water mitigation. So they did minimal. And so let me educate on a perverter,
Nice.
preferred provider.
Yeah, got it.
Um, there are companies that go and have a contract with an insurance company and say, if you send our name out there, we will go in, we'll get a contract signed, and we will mitigate. And they will be very conservative. This has been my experience that insurance companies will pay a ton of money for air scrubbers and fans and visits and everything else, but they don't want you to tear anything out. Don't tear it out because once it's torn out, it has to be built back. So they
Yep.
would rather pay the preferred provider, uh, kind of a lot of money and, really more than what we would have said it was worth. Because on the back end, they're not paying as much money. And it is really tough to go in and criticize the preferred provider because even though they were sent out by the insurance company, they sign a contract with the insured. So it's as if the insured hired them. So in other words, they go, hey, we're going to send somebody out there, hire them, don't hire them, but once you hire them, that's your guy.
Yeah.
The state of Texas
Because they
says
they enter
you
into
get
a
to pick your own.
contract. Yeah, they enter into a contract and they can't tortiously interfere in a contract.
Right. But, here's
You'd
the
be a
thing.
third party that doesn't represent any weight in the contract.
I had another one. So while we're on this same carrier, which I haven't mentioned them, I have two horror stories. One of them was a roof claim that leaked water into a two-story living
Oh
room.
my God.
So it was a story and a half. We hired ServPro, because my guy, he had a really super nice house. It actually was by NASA. and he wanted the best. So he hired ServPro. ServPro came out, and because they're pretty much on everybody's preferred provider list, they chose to cut holes, drill holes, pull off, molding, kind of do that and dry everything.
Yeah.
They'll pull back the carpet and the padding. They're not going to cut it at all because they're going to come clean it later. They're going to dry it, put it back down, clean it. Okay. So I'm out there thinking my guy hired them. And so I have to ask them, the sheetrock is cut at the bottom. It's 2 stories and there's window above window, fireplace, window above window. And then there's a bar at the bottom. And they only cut at the bottom. This is an exterior wall. They don't cut all the way down. They don't take the insulation. So I ask, where did the water come from? And they say the roof. Said, so what is up must come down. How did the water get to the bottom? To the point where you cut it. You cut the sheetrock, you cut out the insulation, and you pulled back the carpet, but nothing else was damaged. None of it's wet. And they said, well, we can't cut it.
Let me paint
And I
the
said, why?
let me paint the picture. Is this the same house that when I came in like weeks later, there's still like basically raining inside the house?
Yes.
Oh yeah, dude.
So in other words, what happens
It was
is
so
it
bad.
looks like the paint is dripping.
Dude, no, it was literally dripping. Like it was hitting granite and splashing, and they had
Yes.
buckets everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Okay. So that was a roof claim. Then I had another one that was a roof claim. You may recall this one. This guy comes out. So without saying the insurance company,
I'll say it.
my client, my client, uh, worked protecting our country. So he did
Oh,
have some PTSD. Hold on. He had some PTSD. And the adjuster came out. He had a metal roof, and the adjuster came out. And I don't know what happened because this was before I was hired. But I do know that it got so bad that the wife called the insurance company and said, please, I'm begging you. This guy is yelling at us in our home. He's provoking my husband. My husband is about to lose it, like murder this guy. And he even went so far as to tell them leave their daughter alone in the bedroom with him. And we're talking like a 8-year-old. They said, y'all all need to leave. She can stay. And they were like, hell no, we're not leaving our daughter in the bedroom with you. This guy, it got so bad and combative inside. When he went outside, he stomped on their roof. They could hear him stomping on their metal roof. And you can hear, she says, there's no way that the insurance company didn't hear. She's saying, listen, he's stomping on our roof. And they're trying to figure out who is this independent out there so they could tell him to leave. And they had asked him to leave, please leave. And he said no. He wasn't going to leave their house. He wasn't finished, and he was going to finish it. So when I got hired, I put all this in a letter and said, now we have a vandalism claim. So we have a water claim, and now he has stomped all over their metal roof, and he did with his boots. We ended up having a vandalism claim, and they said that they were going to send this guy back out there. And I had to tell them that my client was going to file trespassing charges on him if they sent him back out there. He was not welcome. Anybody else could come out there, but not him. So I'm not like, I can't explain why this happens or why this guy just didn't come out and,
I
be
wasn't present on this,
objective.
but I remember you talking about it, and I was like,
Yeah, it
"Wow,
was,
there's no way." This was early when I first started. I want to say I was probably maybe like 6 months into shadowing
yes.
you.
In the
Yeah, I
beginning,
remember
when I
this.
would tell James these stories, he did not believe
I
me.
wouldn't believe it. I mean, there's no way that I mean,
That's why I tell
insurance
people.
companies, professional companies that have been around since the 1900s, like how is that even possible that you even have employees? And I know it's an independent adjuster. That's still a scope of employment. They're representing that company. It doesn't. I don't care the contract between you and your employee. I don't. You can call them whatever you want to call them, independent. and trying to make it look like a third party. It's not. It's first party. That's your employee. If they are coming in representing you, they are your employee.
Well, they're speaking on your behalf.
Yeah, that is your employee. I don't care. You can call them an independent all you want. They're not. They just so happen to work for another company and another company and another company. They're employees
Well,
for that company and that company and
in
that
this
company.
particular instance, this insurance company only has one company that does their claims. It's the good old boy system, and they are never wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Um, well, I think that'll be a wrap. We have about I don't know, 10 minutes left. If you have
yeah, I
something
mean,
you want to get off your chest. I
no,
know
I mean, it's really sad for these people. They don't know about public adjusters. You're at that point, the contractor, how is he supposed to defend you?
yeah, I mean at the end
Oh,
of the
my.
day, this is a customer service problem is what we have. A customer service problem along with
Or is it
I
an ulterior
absolutely
motive of money?
yeah, I absolutely hate insurance companies, and I will say whatever y'all would like me to say. I don't care. I got no license to lose from them. They got nothing that they could possibly do to me. I don't care. The reason I get so fired up about it is because, dude, it's a customer service problem. That is you're on contract. They come out as a building consultant, an expert, and then you have to prove yourself almost like you're guilty till proven innocent. And it's so wrong in my opinion. These are okay, the adjusters, the field adjusters, I'm not going to say it's that 100% their fault. It's a culture within the companies itself. Once
Systemic.
once once they go and they do their thing, they take their pictures. They don't take a picture here where it should be and they take it here, the person back at the desk goes, "Awesome. Now I get to only do this instead of that." And that makes me look good. I'm trying to go up the hierarchy and go into a management role, and I've saved the company $80 billion by just giving up on this one homeowner right here. And it's just a system of blatant disregard of people. People. The actual things that the system is, I pay for premium and I have somebody to help me out. And there's nobody there to help you out ever. Ever. And insurance is embedded in every aspect of your life. Think about it. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about car. We're talking about property and casualty. We're talking about litigation. We're talking about workers' comp. We're talking about HOAs when they mess up, errors and omissions, agents,
Yep.
insurance agents. Dude, it's in everything. Everything. Every single thing you could possibly
Okay, so since you said that, that's why homeowners, business owners, condo owners, church leaders, that's why they think it's an asset. Because you hear people say, don't worry, if you hurt yourself, I've got insurance. So they are totally caught off guard when they're treated badly, they're underpaid, denied. They don't know what happened. We'll talk about a current case that we have, James, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, let's make that a good segue into our next episode.
Okay,
All
because
right.
this is a different insurance company and how we are not sure what the independent turns in. We think it's altered at the desk adjuster, so it didn't make sense.
We'll uncover the egregious acts of Allstate. That's who I will. That's a story about Allstate. Everyone knows Allstate. You know, Mayhem. Yeah. All right. Well,
That concludes this episode. I want to leave you with this thought. Although Texas law doesn't allow individual adjusters to be sued, you're still a fact witness in any potential lawsuit. You will be questioned about your actions, about your notes, your interactions with the insured, and your estimates. If I've offended you by entitling you to my opinion today, get over it. I always say a show of anger is a sign of guilt. Go ahead and self-reflect on why you're pissed at what I'm saying. If you have questions or topics about which you want me to opine, visit yetmopod.com under the lower right chat button. Or you can email me, Sharon@yetmopod.com. That's SHARON@YETMOPOD.com. I encourage all of you to tune in next week to hear my opinion. Start rethinking what you thought you knew about insurance and legal ramifications of your actions based on your specific claims. As always, I encourage each and every one of you to keep learning and elevating your craft. See you next week. Have a great day or not. The choice is yours.